On billionaires, this is what the Prime Minister said after the rich list came out. Isn't it fantastic that we've got people with ambition, aspiration, and positivity, and we should be celebrating success? I know how hard people work in New Zealand, and there are some pretty inspirational stories. As a country, we want people to be able to move themselves from one set of circumstances to a better set of circumstances, and it's okay to celebrate this success. But I just also say to you, of course, he had to say, but I'll say to you, even in print, Chewie. But I'll just also say to you that I know New Zealanders are doing it tough, and it's important that we are doing everything we can as a government to create the conditions for growth. That's what we have been doing, and that's what our budget is doing. Unfortunately, I think they're making areas for growth again for the top, whereas the people at the bottom, the vulnerable, are getting, what's the opposite of growth? Crushed. There you go. That actually works well. Are getting crushed is what I'm seeing, Malcolm.
The funny thing is, in the golden years of Western growth, you know, through the 50s and the 60s into the 70s, people at the top were paying 95% tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was our best ever growth. And they're paying 95%. I mean, I got nothing wrong with good business and making things of value and being successful and good on you, you know, if you know, if you can do things well but I think that money is built on everyone around you, not just you. And I think it needs to be shared. You need to look after your community where you live. Otherwise, you know, in the end, you're going to end up in a walled compound. You know, well, you have to bring the whole country with you.
You also know that the wealthy money doesn't bring happiness. It may make life easier, but it doesn't bring happiness. And one of the stats that I always pull back from is because suicide rates are basically exactly the same amongst the wealthy as the rest of society. So everyone has the same trials and tribulations and issues and insecurities. And rather than now competing with your neighbor who's also working, you know, in a shop, you're competing with your neighbor who's also got 6 helicopters. It's all the same. I can actually remember moving between radio stations. I used to work for a charity radio station. And I can remember we would complain because management couldn't find $100 for us to do some kind of competition on air. And then I moved and started working for Classic Hits, big, powerful, one of the biggest radio stations. And they were complaining because management wouldn't give them $1,000 to do something on air. It's exactly the same complaints, just different levels of income and different levels of money put at the end of that complaint. But the complaints were exactly the same, Malcolm.
Yeah. And I would actually dispute that. I mean, at a certain level, I agree, having money makes things easier. Of course it does. You know, if you don't have to worry about paying the bills, that's wonderful. If you can do the things that interest you and support your family and things, wonderful. But when you get to another level, it actually starts getting hard again because you can't trust people. Everyone's after you for something, you know, like, you know, oh, are they really my friend or they want something? You know, even your own family, like people I know, they don't even trust their own bloody wife and kids anymore. It's just awful. So, I mean, I would dispute at a certain point whether it makes your life easier. But it does up to a certain point, 100%. Yeah. You know, you don't want to be poor. No one likes being poor. No one. And we need to support people who haven't got enough to give their kids lunches, their Marmite sandwich and the apple, you know. I think, you know, we really do need to support those people, 100%.